Cheers! What's up, son? But I'll tell you what, for a little royalty-free jingle jangle, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. How we doing, chat? Happy middle of the week. It's Wednesday. It's December 30th, 2020. Just a pair of slates left to impact your fiscal financial year, mess up your taxes for next month, and have some fun, man. Have some fun out there in the lobbies. Short slate, later lock tonight, so we went on the airwaves a little bit later. Appreciate you guys who've been waiting in the chat or who have been watching the stream. We've definitely grown this week. A lot of really strong numbers on these live streams. A lot of new follows on Twitter, people reaching out, making new friends, new connections in the community. And for that, I appreciate you. You guys that have been here for a while know the drill, man. This is what we do. We grind. We grind. So shout out to the live chat. Sergio, he was first. Edwin Logan says, congrats on last night. Who's your Mike Conley for tonight? So okay, you're talking about 2 nights ago where, Pink the tournament. Okay, no. Yeah, I haven't dove too. Last night wasn't as nice as the night before. Had a lot of the landmines last night. A lot. We had a nice chunk of Blake Griffin. Who else did we have last night? A couple blowouts didn't go the right way. If you look at the DK Live app from yesterday, I did have a good chunk of Randall. I've been all over Jokic. For some reason, nobody is playing Jokic. Again, I get him at single-digit ownership on FanDuel last night. Russ, I was away from the Philly team, the Boston Pacers game. Boston, I think Tatum and TT had strong games. So I had enough to make me not die, but I didn't have enough of not the landmines to survive. I had a lot of Blake Griffin. He only played the first half. I guess he got injured. And it is what it is from there. I mean, it'd be days like that. I said, usually I don't curtain call monster nights with another monster night. So it is what it is. It's a big slate. Tonight, though, a little bit more in the wheelhouse to hit it back out the park. What up, Dan? What up, Joe? Dragic had 0 fouls. They give none 30 minutes. Yeah, that game did get out of hand quickly. Dragic for me was only a DraftKings play. I avoided him on FanDuel for the most part. At $6,900, there was a lot of I wasn't sure he was a lock for over 30 minutes anyway with Butler out, just because he's kind of the elder statesman on the team. But yeah, with that game blowing out, yeah, it was rough. I don't think I would ever put him on 9 or 10 minutes or whatever he ended up with. But what are you gonna do, right? What up, Steven? Mr. Shadow Dog, hi. I was stumbling across you. If you stumble across this video on YouTube, what you see on the screen? Yes, sir. What up, Justin Sports? Hope your boy Graham shows up, man. Devontae, the homie. What up, Taylor? The guy that took down the $9 FanDuel last night didn't have anyone in his lineup over 9% owned. So I did get into some Monte Morris because I had some Jamal Murray. He got late scratched. But man, no one in his lineup over 9%. I feel like Tyler Hero was probably someone to help you get there. He was pretty high owned. Oh man, that's wild. That's crazy. What up, Tormented? What up, Jason? Did you see what a mess Dragic was? Black cherry, vanilla bang. You know how we do. Anyway, it's a shorter slate tonight. It's going to be a lot easier to absorb, wrap ourselves around. Remember, it is a later lock, 6:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 Eastern. But 2, 4, 6 games right where I like it. I love the 5 to 8 game slates. They're easier to script. They're easier to just have all the information digested and know what's going on, right? When these 10 game slates come and you got a Q tag on somebody in the 10 p.m. games, and it's overwhelming. But these shorter slates I like a lot. I think you get benched if you have 3 turnovers under a minute. That game was wild. And then Drew Holiday was popping it. Now Drew Holiday's pretty cheap on FanDuel today, so we'll have some fun with that. Anyway, if you guys are new to the channel, what you see on the screen is RunDFS.com. That's a place where we don't just play DFS. We run DFS after the stream I'll be in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord. That's where the magic happens. 24/7 communication in the text channels, all the different sports that we grind. Right now, I spearhead premium coverage for NBA and NFL that includes proprietary spreadsheets, projections, and my own player pool. If you guys want access to that, it is a perk of having a subscription at RunDFS.com. But probably the most beneficial thing that we offer is every day before lock for 2 hours, we're in that voice chat, chopping it up, digesting news, having some fun, making some lineups. So I definitely encourage you guys to, if it's not my community, join a DFS community. And it's a beautiful part of the daily process. Sometimes there's 20-plus cats chilling in the voice chat here, and we're all just having the same goal in mind. And I say it all the time, there's people at every bankroll level in this chat. People grinding quarters, people grinding monsters, literal millionaires. AVP won the Millie Maker 3 weeks ago. We've got a couple 100K winners in Adine and Jake. I'm bringing Jake on the show in just a second. And then, of course, a couple smaller. Chronic banking a single entry the night I banked the 15K. So there's something at every bankroll level on whatever site you play on for you to connect with somebody. But let's go ahead and drag Jake in here and normalize our audio here.
Oh, I hate Gordon Dragic. Why do we have to start there?
He for what it's worth, for me, he was only a DraftKings play, and all my action was on FanDuel. But I still didn't really make it out alive because of Blake Griffin, and even I guess Mike Muscala ended up getting there for like a not kill you standpoint. But yeah, I got kind of okey doked on him too. Anyway, so how's soccer going? You're sweating soccer?
Yeah, because that's I guess what we do on Wednesday afternoons now. Sweat second tier English soccer.
Yeah. What up, DFS cast? Devontae Graham has to shoot better than 20% at some point. Yeah, and Kelly Oubre has to shoot better than 5% or whatever he's at right now.
Hey, he made a 3 yesterday.
He made a 3. The world rejoiced. He still, basically got me 30-ish, I think, on FanDuel. So, like, if his price point is going to stay at 5K, he's about to just be my strange addiction. Don't ask questions you don't want to know. It's a Billie Eilish reference, guys. We did that. Sergio, I think you get benched. Yeah, I read that. Crispy, what up, Crispy? What's up, Gun? Joker is going to get played until he's 11 Gs for sure. And he just, like I said, his ownership stays so low. Last night, if you had Drummond, you were satisfied. But I'm just saying, like, every night, Joker's doing that, and he's just not gaining any traction ownership-wise. He kept me profitable this NBA season. I got my money back. Yeah. What up, Anthony? Happy Duncan Robinson Day. All right. Donald, Utah, Jake, how's your cat?
I need a cat. I need another cat in my life. Really, Gun needs a cat,
There is a movement for me to get a cat. And
support the stream with the Gun get a cat movement.
I will go make. I was telling Danny if I make a Amazon wish list of a starter kit to get a cat, and there's enough hype, and I know all the stuff to get. I'm not dumb. I know you need a cat, right? Food and a litter box. But I'm just saying, like, for a cat to live a good life here. But I don't want no kitten. Kittens they just don't shut up. I'm always on the air. Just give me an adult cat that just wants to be fat, lazy, and hang out. Then I'll get a cat. We'll see. What up, Darian? What up, Bowley? I'll wait for your thoughts on Memphis backcourt for sure. Get a cat, babe. Okay, Danny. The movement. It's a movement. Anyway, I guess we'll jump into the slate. Like I said, late lock, shorter slate. We'll have some fun with it. First game on the docket tonight, the Memphis Grizzlies at the Boston Celtics. Project starting 5 for the Grizzlies. Tyus Jones, John Morant's going to be out a couple weeks. Grayson Allen, Dylan Brooks, Kyle. The Andersons got tickets to the game. How'd they get tickets? Jonas Valanciunas taking on Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Grant Williams. TT's going to be out. Daniel Tice, a 217 total, 5-point spread in favor of the home team, Boston Celtics. Celtics, night 2 of a back-to-back. So just a 5-point spread here. Last night I kind of slept on Jason Tatum, and on DraftKings, he's dropped down to 8,600. the Memphis Grizzlies, although without John Morant, who I believe is a big part of them being a fire starter, high speed and fast break scoring offense, we would still likely assume them to try and play fast pace, and then playing from behind, they're going to have to play with a little pep in their step. But some interesting prices here on the Celtics. Really, all of the Celtics on DraftKings, I feel like in and of themselves could get there. Marcus Smart 6'3", never a fun click, but he could. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum are the two other ones. And then if we're just going to give those Tristan Thompson minutes to somebody, whether it be the Time Lord or Grant Williams or something like that, or even if Tatum just plays more at the 4 and then like Jeff Teague slides in, I think that's very plausible as well. I do think the Celtics offer validity in their price points to be played. I don't feel like it's never really like fun and exciting to play the Celtics. But as you saw last night, they have the potential to be super, super strong plays. Jason Tatum was the scrolling up. He was a top 10 fantasy point producer last night at 52 fantasy points. So he actually goes down a couple $100 in price on DraftKings. I think the caveat here is: do we believe this Grizzlies team is competitive without John Morant, leaning on guys like Tyus Jones and Grayson Allen to pick up the slack? Maybe not. I think the two mid-tier guys that I'm looking at for fantasy purposes, Dillon Brooks, Kyle Anderson. Dillon Brooks got quite the price increase from his last slate on DraftKings. And then Kyle Anderson is, slow-mo, never fun to roster. But the last couple games here, 40-plus fantasy points on DraftKings. Minutes are super deep. Could he be somebody at 6K that we play again for 40 plus? Again, the matchup isn't going to be like super appealing or give me high hopes, but on a shorter slate, I do want to at least vet everything. Jake, confidence levels and excitement levels on playing any of these Grizzlies here without John Morant?
That goes hand in hand with a lot of my excitement for Boston, and that's what is this Jason Tatum midday Q tag that popped up. Because if he ends up not playing, I think Memphis is much more likely to be competitive. It opens up more Boston guys, and I mean, without John Morant, Dillon Brooks might play the entire game and shoot 30 times in a close game. He was already shooting 20 times playing 35 minutes anyway.
Yeah.
He got the price bump, but let's be honest, it's not really a price bump on FanDuel. It's just where he should be. There was no reason he should have been in the 3Ks before. DraftKings at 6'2". If Tatum's out, I'm going to love Dillon Brooks here and quite a few Boston guys.
Yeah, and Jaylen Brown. I think no Tristan Thompson is interesting to me because I don't think we've ever really seen Grant Williams in the previous couple of years when Horford would sit a game, or last year when the front court would be out. I think there's a chance Tatum could play some more if he even plays. And maybe Jeff Teague is like the sneakiest play at 3,900 on DraftKings, 44 on FanDuel. Maybe he picks up some of that scoring responsibility if a Tatum sits in this lineup, has to get a little bit more stretchy. So somebody I'm putting in my back pocket. Jonas Valanciunas, 7.7K. So I guess there's merit in maybe running maybe an on-off court on the Grizzlies. So let me go pull up an on-off court tool. We're going to use RotoWire and go to Memphis. I guess I could have used Fantasy Labs. That works just the same. Let's just put John Morant off. There's so many moving variables on that team without Jaren Jackson, so I guess we'll take him off as well. And then John Morant. I just don't trust Kyle Anderson. Like, does that make sense?
When slow-mo ever burned us, especially at 6K.
Oh, man, it's tough.
He's another guy that right now is just playing the entire game, though.
Yeah, minutes can equal money. If he's going to produce, I'll be a buyer. So let me just take off John Morant, Jaren Jackson. Just out of curiosity, maybe put Jonas Valanciunas on. Trying to make a case for J-Val here with this front court getting a little bit smaller. So we're going to run that. The sample size is from the 22nd of this year. It's just this year. So it's only 45 minutes of sample size. So without John Morant, without Jaren Jackson, we got a 33% usage rate on Dillon Brooks, 29% on Kyle Anderson. Both of those guys with those usage rates, just a fantasy point per minute. And same for J-Val. So I guess if we pulled the clock back for a year just to do it, and rerun it whenever it pops up. Chat, what are you guys doing on this one before we move on to the next game? Donald says, when I started DFS, Jake had a cat and Gun and Jake beefing over a cat.
God, were you trying to steal my cat back in the day?
No, man. Just get a cat. What up, Celia? What up, Quan? They don't do it. They like to climb on electronics. They do.
They do like to do that, but it's okay.
They do like to sit on keyboards. So if you, it's only 2.9 minutes. There's really no sample size here to draw this back. Or no, that moved this clock back. I'm so confused. All right, let me change that to December.
You'd have to imagine it just becomes the Dylan Brooks show on the offensive end.
I think, yeah, he absolutely would have to lead that team in shots, maybe 20-plus shot attempts. So if he's hitting, obviously the matchup, he'll likely cross with Marcus Smart if Brad Stevens identifies that. So it's not going to be an easy road. But, yeah, I think the shot volume goes to him. And then I'm curious with J-Val, man. I feel like this could be an opportunity for J-Val to deliver. Dating back to the last season, without Jaren Jackson and John Morant, according to RotoWire, J-Val averaged 1.5 fantasy point per minute and 351.4 minutes of sample size. So I think he could be really fun on a short slate when you start looking at this center spot. You know, especially on DK, you could play Giannis, AD at the center spot. Maybe people go back to Adebayo, even though I wasn't there yesterday. John Collins, like there's some. I'm curious with J-Val. 39 minutes against Brooklyn, 43.5 fantasy points. Of course, that was Brooklyn without KD and Kyrie, and we knew that front court was already going to be porous as it looked more similar to last year. So I think the Grizzlies team could be the key here. It's just getting the right clicks. And they moved Tyus Jones' price up a little bit too aggressively for me to be too excited to roll with that. DFS Cash says, I don't get the love of Pritchard. He's only got there shooting 80 to 100%. Look at his preseason play. Just as a back pocket value play, I mean, he's cheap. Kind of glue stuff together. Even so, like these cheap guys, if they get 8 to 12 shot attempts and they can hit at 50% clip and a couple of peripherals, I mean, if they can just will their way to 18 to 23 fantasy points on a shorter slate, that might get you there. Never trust Kyle Anderson, but Brooks though. Yeah, I think they both have to be in my pool tonight, but depending on what the Celtics lineup actually ends up being. Midday Q tags are scary. I usually kind of prepare myself for that person being out, especially if we like if we thought Tatum was in right now. Are we putting him on a 5-point home favorite against not John Morant and the Grizzlies? I feel like maybe you can interpret the spread a little bit, and leave yourself room for Tatum being out. I know it is a back-to-back, though. Going, what do you have Tyus minutes to play at 35.5? I got him at 31 right now. Yeah, I got him at 31 right now. I could see it being more. I might be conservative on that.
Both sites just got so aggressive with his price.
Mm-hmm. What website are you using right now? I was using RotoWire. So basically, I was using an on-off court tool. And I believe there's so many free versions of that same tool. I think Fantasy Labs is free for the on-off court tool. I don't know if RotoGrinders has a free one. They probably do. RotoWire, I think that's free. Man, there's another site that does that too, and I forget what it was. Wasn't it the add more funds or no?
Yeah, well, they picked up NBA Wowie. I don't know if they still do that though.
I think I'll put out a video, Chad. If you guys want it, I think I'm going to put out a video talking about some of the free resources you guys can use, like StatMuse, on-off court tools, popcorn machine, stuff like that. Boley says, I really like Brooks and Pritchard. I can get with that. No Desmond Bane minutes. I got him at 24.5. I don't know a whole lot about Desmond Bane. Point guard, shooting guard, 10 minutes. Didn't really do a whole lot. I got him at 25 minutes, so if that means anything to you. Personally taking medium exposure to Pritchard, I can see that. I have a weird feeling Jonas doesn't get there tonight. Will be decently owned with center on DK being a little iffy. Okay. My cat is too fat and too old to be sitting on electronics. I feel like if I get my cat just like a jungle gym of luxury, they don't need to worry about my little green screen cubicle. I don't know. I just want a laid back cat. Just a laid back fat cat, right? That's it. I don't want no kitty.
We're going to turn you into a cat person yet.
I'd get a dog, but that's too much work. That's too cold. Bucks at the Heat. Night 2 of a back-to-back. Running it back from last night's. The project starting 5 for the Milwaukee Bucks. Drew Holiday, Dante DiVincenzo, Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Brook Lopez. Taking on Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Mo. How could you be so heartless? Bam Adebayo, Myers Leonard, 6-point spread for the visiting Milwaukee Bucks, 227.5 total. Maybe this Heat lineup changes a little bit. Goran Dragic was the story of the year last night. A lot of people leaned on him without Jimmy Butler to be a serviceable fantasy player. If we go pull up that popcorn machine from last night, I think he only played like 9-10 minutes. And I know that game got really out of hand really, really quick.
The Bucks were up like 30 at one point in the first quarter.
Yeah, Dragic played the first quarter, and that's it. 9 minutes in the first and didn't come back to the court. So I'm not going to speculate on what happened, why it happened. It would be hashtag DFS for Dragic to come back tonight and be the nuts. But, man, it's hard to not expect more of the same on a back-to-back, especially if Dragic's down and Jimmy Butler could be out again. What we did see yesterday from a fantasy perspective was success, at least on FanDuel, for Tyler Hero, who was at the small forward position. He stayed at 4,500. He was 50% owned yesterday and got there. It's really hard to imagine him on a shorter slate, same matchup, to not continue to be at least 50%, maybe even higher, because his price didn't budge. So expect some ownership there. Bam Adebayo, we talked about him yesterday. I guess his price is down to 7,600 on DraftKings. But if you look at his last 10, 15 games without Jimmy, last 10, 15 games against the Bucks, there was really nothing with the ceiling that got me too excited. Maybe Spoelstra adjust overnight from what he saw yesterday and make some moves. Maybe we get a surprise Giannis sit, right? It's just a 6-point spread. Sometimes they load manage Giannis on back-to-backs. We saw that last season. Maybe that pops up, and then we just push on Chris Middleton. But for the most part, it's hard to not just like try and chase what we saw last night. And one of the things we saw last night was $6,400 Drew Holiday on either site being a fantastic play in less than 30 minutes. And if the game was competitive, that 28 turns into a 34-minute game. I guess he was more of a fantastic play on FanDuel with the Steelers. I swear, let me pull up his game log on FanDuel from last night. On FanDuel last night, he had 50 fantasy points. Did DraftKings not update yesterday's game?
They don't have that game yet.
Oh, okay. Then
he didn't put up 23 DKP. It was not that big of a swing.
Yeah, I was gonna say. He had 50 fantasy points last night on FanDuel. 4 stocks in the mix, so 12 fantasy points there. You tax it a little less for DK. I think at 6,400, like you're like, okay, give me 30 on this slate, and we're in the conversation. So I definitely don't like. I'm not anti-running that one back. I think the price is still right. It would be DFS for him to fall flat the next night. But if you could just get me to the ballpark of 30 fantasy points, I'm there. Chris Middleton 7.8, 7.4. He's another guy that I think could sneak away with 40 fantasy points. And then Giannis, I haven't seen anything about Giannis potentially resting with load management. But a no Butler, who knows what's going on with Dragic Heat lineup on a back-to-back after getting smoked. It's a different era of back-to-backs, right? There's not travel. It's not home and away. It's the same, coming back to the same gym. So, Jake, what do you do with this game? Are you just gonna chase last night's results, or do you think Dragic on DK is an elite play now after burning everyone?
He's still so cheap on DraftKings at 55. I don't, obviously you don't expect the Heat to come out and lose by 47 again, but I don't see what would happen to make this game better, in the sense that how the Heat are going to keep it close, unless somebody does rest. Butler's still out. I would hope Dragic plays more than 10 minutes, but who knows what happened there. Hero's definitely playable, especially on FanDuel. He's way too cheap. And then, you brought up a great point about Drew. It's just hard with this game because I don't see, why is it a 6-point spread after they just won by 47, 24 hours ago?
Yeah, a couple suspect spreads here. I could certainly see some scrambling at 5 p.m. And we start getting some rest news like Tatum and Giannis and stuff like that. And that would really flip the slate on its head, right? CG says, "Gun, you still got the Christmas background." Yeah, I don't know what to do next. You don't like my tree? I think it's a pretty tree. It's a lot of work to take that down. I looked back at it. Movie magic. Going right back to Dragon.
It took forever to put it up, I imagine.
I did. I mean, look at that thing, man. Jesus. My electric bill is going to be nuts. Haven't seen you since Gun didn't allow us to play guards against. Oh, for Chris. Yeah, Chris Gonzalez in the chat. OG CG. You guys might remember him. We used to do a lot of streams together. Just graduated, so I got time. Let's go, CG. Fresno State represent. All right, let's move on to the next game. Brooklyn Nets hosting the Atlanta Hawks. So this game, I think, is going to be an apple, a lot of eyes. Project starting five for the Hawks: Trae Young, Bogdanovich, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, and Clint Capella. Taking on Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris, Timothy Luwawu Cabarro, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Jordan, Spencer Dinwiddie still out. We got a 239 total, 6-point spread in favor of the Brooklyn Nets. The last game, Kyrie and KD were out, on top of Dinwiddie being out for his injury. I think he hurt his wrist. This game shows Kevin Durant at 8,400 on DraftKings. I don't know how this wouldn't be a tier 1 core play against the Atlanta Hawks. Here's a guy that's gotten you 40-plus fantasy points in each game. Maybe people game log get trepidatious because the game log doesn't have a whole lot of upside. Kevin Durant's peripherals are a lot lower than you might expect them to be, but I do think in a pace-up spot against the Atlanta Hawks, we'll soon start seeing those high-steal games, block games, and then more boards and stuff like that. So give me KD on DraftKings 8,400 as a probably tier 1 guy. Handcuff him to Kyrie. I've been doing that the first couple slates that they played together. Put them together, probably get 100 fantasy points or more from them. All day long, all day strong. Karis LeVert, uncomfortable click at 6,900 on DraftKings. In this matchup, I guess there's still a loose range of outcomes where I could put a window at 35, 45 fantasy points. But obviously, you kind of take the top off his ceiling. By the way, my neighbor is an actual train. Every now and then, he likes to wake up and yell. On the Hawks side, Trae Young's 9,600. I could see Trae Young ownership being a little bit lower unless we got some of that surprise news. I've already seen a lot of love for Luka Doncic. And then, of course, some of these centers have some buzz on them. Jonas Valanciunas, we talked about, might garner a little bit of ownership without Ja Morant and his historic 1.5 fantasy point per minute without Ja. Maybe Giannis is drawing some attention. We got the Clippers on the slate. So maybe Trae Young's just like a very volatile play in and of himself to begin with. Is the guy that has to drive this ship to keep this game competitive. I don't love... I don't feel warm and fuzzy on clicking John Collins' name, but he does have room at his price point. Same with Capella, right? I expect Capella to still kind of be limited minutes-wise, but past Trae Young, it is like a conglomerate of volatility. Like, I could see Bogdan paying off 4,800, but I could also just see 25, and then off the bench, same with Cam Reddish, stuff like that. So there's not a high level of confidence on anyone on the Hawks. But Jake, where would you start? Like, if you wanted to just handcuff Durant and Kyrie and try and put some NFL correlation run back, is there anyone past Trae Young that you would introduce into like a pool of 20 lineups or less?
I mean, I think you kind of covered it in 20 lineups. I would take shots on the whatever is going on with the Hawks wings. Bogdanovich is in play, Hunter's in play. I really like Cam Reddish actually. I don't know if Rondo's still going to only play 15 minutes, but he's really cheap on DraftKings if they'll give him a few more.
Mm-hmm.
Herder can get hot with a 3, albeit out of Reddish, Hunter, and Bogdan, Herder's probably my least favorite. But I think any one of those kind of like shooting guard small forwards there are in play if you're making multiple lineups.
That's the Chris said that's the Tyler Hero chalk train in the background. As he's putting coal in, I don't know if they still do that, but as he's putting coal in the train engine, whatever, he's texting girls on Instagram, and just whatever happens. Rod says, my bad, work Zoom call went late. Disappointing.
SMH.
Imagine work and not DFS streaming. Like, what? Durant super underpriced on DraftKings. He is. So for what it's worth, so far he hasn't really blown that price out the water. But I think it's coming. It's just a matter of games one staying competitive, which the Atlanta Hawks are a wild card, right? This team on paper seems to be very talented. And then we saw the Hornets stay competitive against the Nets. So consistency is key for the Nets. And then the most consistently inconsistent team in the Atlanta Hawks will have to show up and show out. But I definitely think there's here. TLC, Jake. He just went bananas. Do we taper expectations here without Kyrie, without KD? Like, he's still cheap. He's still 4,200 on FanDuel, 4K on DraftKings. He does a little bit of everything. He's kind of just like our Cinderella. 40 minutes in Memphis. I chopped that almost in half. I put him at 25. I can still see a case for 30. But he can still be a point per minute in 25-30 at 4K. Like, how much could you get to TLC today?
I don't know. It is tough. Obviously, you don't expect him with everyone back. He's not going to play 40 minutes. He's not going to take 17 shots. But he is, assuming he is getting or he's the one they'll be starting for Dinwiddie, which I guess we don't really know for sure because the only game Dinwiddie's been out was the rest game for everyone. Right. But if he's going to get in there, if he's going to play, like you mentioned, he does everything. He's a decent rebounder. He gets stocks. He can handle the ball a little. He's a really good shooter. Albeit he didn't show that going 3 for 10 last game. But he can do it all, and he's still really cheap if he's going to be the one slotting and getting those minutes.
Yeah, I mean, they can still do weird stuff like Landry Shamet starting, stuff like I don't know what Nash has up his sleeve, but he's interesting if we can put his minutes at a sneaky spot. But I also feel like I would love to understand where the field was at because on FanDuel he still was low owned that night, but I think on DK he floated up to 20-30% owned. Chat, what do you guys got on this one before we move on? Darian says Durant, Kyrie stack way too cheap on FanDuel. I just love that handcuff on short slates anyway. I've said it before. It reminds me of the Westbrook Durant or the Westbrook Paul George. You just put it together and try and take 100 fantasy points home, and then get a little bit more if you're lucky, right? Rondo with that elite fantasy point per minute. Lulu Carrot, Zach. I'm a huge Sixers fan. I've watched TLC for years. He's just not that good. So, from a fantasy perspective, he could fill up the stat sheet at 4K, 4,200. A lot of fantasy players that we love for point per minute are real-life basketball analysts might consider not good. Like Montrezl Harrell gets so much slack for his defense or lack thereof. But for fantasy, you give Montrezl Harrell 30 minutes, I'll play him. Same with Enes Kanter, right? Like real-life analysts would discredit their talent and defensive ability, but for fantasy, man, you get there for me, I'm happy. Let's move on to the next game. Charlotte Hornets at the Dallas Mavericks. Projects 35 for the Hornets. Devontae Graham, the homie, Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, PJ Washington, Bismack Biyombo taking on Luka Doncic, Tim Hardaway Jr., Josh Richardson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Dwight Powell. We got 224.5 total, 8-point spread in favor of the Dallas Mavericks. People have been waiting for the Luka Express, and he was finally taking off. If you played on the first 2 games, you're like, oh man, he did 11K for this, and he was finally taking off on the Clippers, but it was a blowout. He only saw 26 minutes. 10.7K. Really, if you get 60 plus on this slate, the raw points probably matriculate that lineup to the top. He's going against a Hornets team that has paid off some big time team stacks so far, including that Cleveland Cavaliers team stack. So Doncic at 10.7 on DK, 11.4 on FanDuel. Like I said, you get to 60 plus, all bets are off. So he's in play, but it is an 8-point spread here. And this Charlotte Hornets team does have a propensity to get on the wrong side of lopsided games. And we even saw that with that Cavs game, but then they showed up against the Nets. So I think this is going to be kind of based on your comfort level and projecting the Hornets to keep this game competitive. Should it stay competitive, Terry Rozier, I hate to turn around and start touting Terry Rozier, but when you look at the start to the season for him, he's actually sustained a 25+% usage rate just about every game, including dating into the preseason for this team. So would be an uncomfortable click from a historical standpoint, right? Very inconsistent last year. But yeah, 24.8% usage against the Nets, 24% against the Thunder, 32% against the Cavs, 23 in preseason, 23. So the usage is there for him to be a point per minute or better. Devontae Graham, we've talked about him. Love his price on FanDuel at 5,900. He's still right there on DK. You know, he's the guy that does chuck threes. So at 6,600, he hits a couple, 4 or 5 threes. He's right there in the wheelhouse. He got 13 real points that last game. Took 15 field goal attempts and just made 5 of them. 9 of those were from 3 attempts. So the merit is there for Devontae Graham to kind of try and keep this game close. And then coming into the season, he was a high assist rate player. Gordon Hayward at 7,200. I definitely think one of these slates, Hayward is going to be the key, and people are just like not comfortable paying $7K for Hayward post the Boston era, right? Because in Boston, when he was $6K, you thought about him, but right now he's kind of the team. 35, 36 minutes, first couple games here. That OKC game kind of a letdown, but the shot attempts will be there. I like the propensity for him to drop 40-plus fantasy points, so I probably put him in the mix, and I'll probably be a little bit more bullish on him because, I don't know, I haven't really checked out ownership projections yet, but I feel like Gordon Hayward maybe doesn't resonate with the field. And then P.J. Washington is a little bit interesting, not a high level of confidence, but in 2 games without Cody Zeller, P.J. Washington has 8 and 12 rebounds. And this is one of the guys that has to fill in some minutes at the center spot. And we saw that in the first game. He started with Biyombo, but then he would stay on the court while Biyombo was off and play more at the 5, and that would help him out getting some more peripherals. So just to kind of verify if that was the trend in the Brooklyn game, PJ, finished the first quarter without Biyombo. He basically went to play center. So if you're going to up your potential floor with some center peripherals like rebounds and stuff like that, maybe P.J. Washington is probably too cheap if that's going to be his role here on DraftKings at 5,400. So I kind of like him a lot. I got him at just about 31 fantasy points in my soft projection, so I'd put him in the mix. I'm probably going to end up stacking Hornets and running it back with Luka and just hoping that works out. Past Luka, this Mavs team is really hard to stack, especially at these prices, right? A week ago, I guess DFS still has meat on the bone at his price, but at these prices, there's not a whole lot of confidence assigned to a Hardaway or J. Rich, right? We could see 30 out of them, but just like last year, it was just like Luka and everyone else. So I could see Luka versus 2 or 3 Hornets in a couple of my lineups. Jake, where are you at?
As far as J. Rich, that's another one of those. He's got another guy with the Q tag that I'm watching, because if he's out, it can open up a lot of minutes and a decent amount of usage for maybe it just goes to Tim Hardaway, maybe it goes to DFS, maybe it goes to like a Trey Burke or something off the bench. So that would be interesting. Outside of that, though, they really are. They're Luka Doncic and friends. Somebody's going to do something. Who knows who it is? Most of my folks will be on the Hornets just because I kind of know where I get stuff from. I love PJ Washington here. I think it's a great spot for him. He's way too cheap on DraftKings. And then good old Gordon Hayward. It still hurts my soul, but he's not flirting with triple doubles, but he's doing just a little of everything right now and carrying a very high shot usage.
Yeah, and like I said, the field is still just like trained to not play Gordon Hayward, especially when he's over 7K. So I think one of these slates will be the key. And even on FanDuel 7-8, how hard is it to stomach a 8K Gordon Hayward right now? But I think the volume is there, the minutes are there, and on a shorter slate, it makes a lot of sense. So, chat, where are you guys on this one? Andrew Collins says, looking at PJ here. Joe says, I'm liking PJ. All right. Meet the PJs. PJ's upside seems great. He has a 3-point shot that we haven't seen this year yet. I just like that he's playing center. Like, PJ Washington reminds me a lot, fantasy-wise, of, like, Rui Hachimura, where, like, you put him out there for 35 minutes, and then you were just getting 25 fantasy points. But now pushing him to the 5 a little bit more responsibility to go out there and attack the glass a little bit. I like that to raise his floor. And if we can stretch him out a little bit more and shoot some threes and what have you, I'll take that too. Because he's smashing Brittany Ren every night. I don't know. Who rebounds for Dallas? Can't trust Powell or Maxey. That's pretty much who. Maybe Willie Cauley-Stein gets 14. I got him at 14 minutes. But yeah, that's that. I don't think it's gonna be like a big game in terms of size, right? I think both teams kind of size up similarly. Bayward, say it, Jake. Celia says,
Nope.
say it.
Not gonna happen.
Bayward. Gordon Bayward.
If he ever takes down a GPP for me, I said we'd bury the hatchet, and that's still where we stand.
Chat, Jake is a huge Utah Jazz fan.
Still hurts.
I got a message from lifelong friend. Says, Gunn, I now have PayPal just in case you want to throw your struggling friend $50. No, I'm just kidding. I'll probably open them out. We'll see. FanDuel, you're on PJ over Collins at power forward. So a little context with my answer here is I'm a multi-entry guy, so I'll probably have a little bit of both. I feel like that is a good one.
John Collins needs to stop hugging people.
Yeah, if he crosses up with KD, he might get back into foul trouble. Clint Capella's back in the mix. 25 minutes of him. The minutes, I think, no matter what, go to PJ. I think 35 minutes to PJ is a good projection should this game stay neutral. I'm probably there, but I think that's close. Who said that? Yali. I think that's a good 1v1. I'm probably leaning PJ, though. AD's going hand today. What up, Tyrell? New VIPer. I recognize the name, Tyrell. Appreciate you joining. A-Town down, Terrence Mann kind of night. Oh, Jake.
Every night's a Terrence Mann kind of night.
Chat, Jake won $100,000 on the final day of last regular season on the back of Terrence Mann. Jake, what was the buy-in on that tournament?
I think it was a 777.
My man put $777 on Terrence Mann, you were like the only one in a contest with him, right?
There was one other person, and he came in either second or third.
The size of...
Look, sometimes you gotta take your 60 DKP even when it's low owned.
Imagine being $800 on Terrence Mann against the sharpest players in the world. Whew, but it worked. It worked. Let's move on to the next game. Lakers at the San Antonio Spurs. Project starting five for the Lakers. Dennis Schroeder, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Marc Gasol, taking on Dejounte Murray, Lonnie Walker, the fourth, DeMar DeRozan, Keldon Johnson, LaMarcus Aldridge. Aldridge has a Q tag floating on him, right? Let's see if we can get an update on that from the player tag. It's considered questionable against the Lakers due to a sore left knee. So we'll watch that. If he can't go, that might open up some perceived value on Jakob Poeltl. Pretty reasonably priced on both sites. We got 228.5 total. The Lakers favored by just 6 visiting here. I think the Lakers are the Lakers. They're pretty easy to chop up, right? Dennis Schroeder, okay, sure. Take some of that. LeBron James is sub 10K on DraftKings. Had himself a solid night after being questionable. I think he ended up scoring just a point or two less than James Harden that night, 55 and a quarter. I think James Harden was 55 as well, so he's a little bit cheaper. That looked a little bit more like LeBron James type of basketball, especially considering the fact that he had only played 31 or less minutes in a few games prior. I think Shady was telling us that LeBron James' birthday is today or tomorrow. Let me see.
It's today.
His birthday.
There was also something, I forget what it was, that LeBron today, if he does something, is like he hits some massive or crazy milestone. I forget what it was.
LeBron's hitting milestones, breathing right now. So it's LeBron James' birthday on a 6-game slate. Narrative against Pop. So, yeah, I mean, LeBron James is LeBron James. He's under 10K. A lot of love for Anthony Davis as well at 9.7K. It's kind of crazy you could put these two together, LeBron and AD, and have less than 20,000 of your salary being spent. AD has not had that breakout game. He had 50 against Dallas. We'll take that. But that kind of makes me like PJ Washington just a little bit more. Both these guys are self-explanatory. You don't need me to break them up. Past these guys, Schroeder has a range of outcomes at 6K where he's a fine play against the Spurs team that have been pretty bad on defense thus far. Montrezl Harrell, 7K on DraftKings, hard to love. But on FanDuel, if you get 25 minutes of that, I do think the center position on FanDuel is really, really shallow. Like I said, I'm not in love with Adebayo. He just hasn't been super smash at this price point without Jimmy and or against the Bucks. I do think there's a case for J-Val without John Morant historically. So I might lean on Montrezl Harrell, just hoping he gets 25 minutes against this Spurs front court. And I trust him to be more of a point per minute against this Spurs front court. So I think he might float as one of my higher-owned centers for FanDuel purposes. So those are the names that kind of pop. On the Spurs side, Dejounte Murray, 6'1" on DK. I do think he's the guy that has a little bit of upside at this price point. My soft projections put him right at 33 on DK, which is right in the wheelhouse of where you want him to be at floor-wise. Do we have some upside? We do. DeRozan's under 7K on DraftKings. Without LaMarcus Aldridge for this team to have a chance, DeRozan's going to have to step up. And then you might see some Jakob Poeltl, Keldon Johnson time stretching out at the big. A 6-point spread seems kind of light no matter what, right? If Aldridge was in, I still feel like 6-point spread is kind of light. So I'm a little bit worried about that. But where's your love at on either side for this game, Jake?
Specifically on DraftKings, you touched on their prices. It's Murray and DeRozan. I think they're both way too cheap on DraftKings, especially Murray, whose his biggest asset is he's a triple-double threat, and he's $1,200 cheaper, or you get the bonuses on DraftKings.
Yeah.
And then DeRozan at that much cheaper. So LeBron, assuming he plays, he actually currently has the highest average points per game on his birthday in NBA history at 32.9 points per game on his birthday.
Oh, God. We're going to have to
So if LeBron plays under 10K on DraftKings, birthday boy.
What a stat. What a stat. LeBron James DKP by game log on December 30th, last 10 games. The last 5 games, he's gotten you 50-plus fantasy points. What what a way to quantify how he performs. Yeah, sure. We'll take it.
He's gonna fly. I guess he also has a Q tag, but like it's his birthday.
Yeah. Louis R. His thoughts on James Johnson. I didn't have any short list interest, but I guess
if Richardson's out, it's interesting. He played 20 minutes last game for the Mavs.
Okay, I could see that. Sounds like a lock to me, says Antony. I'd take some, sure. If we're really dumpster diving on FanDuel for the center spot, Marc Gasol's at 3,800. The Spurs front court has been pretty porous, so I guess it makes sense if we're gonna like just click Montrezl Harrell. Maybe there's a case for Marc Gasol in a studs and scrubs build. No excitement there, but could we get 20-plus fantasy points out of him? Especially a guy like Gasol is a little bit more defensive than offensive. Maybe that pays off a FanDuel price tag, 21-41 this last 2 games. Yeah, I'd probably put Marc Gasol in my FanDuel pool. I wouldn't feel amazing about it, but I probably would. And then any other like peripheral plays here? Like if we start playing the if Aldridge is out game. First of all, if Aldridge is in, is he a little too cheap to not take a shot on in mass entry? 6'5", 6'3". It's not a great matchup. The Lakers front court's still been kind of shut down, but it's really cheap for a potential shot volume, especially if he's going to start chucking, mid and long ranges.
You're the Aldridge guy.
I am. I don't expect any. Like, I'll just start at like 3 rebounds, and then it's just shot attempts, 7, 14, 17, and 30% of those shots will probably be from downtown. So the heart wants what the heart wants, but I probably don't.
If Aldridge does sit, it could open up more minutes for Rudy Gay, who's actually playing a decent bit around 5K.
Yeah, I could see Rudy Gay as I don't want to say a pivot to like a Colin Anderson, but maybe more eyes are on Colin Anderson, a lot more eyes, and Rudy Gay just kind of is floating there. It is what it is. 28, 27 minutes, a wide range of outcomes, 43 and 14. But without Aldridge, we might open that up. We've also seen Keldon Johnson. Oh man, he's almost 6K now.
Yeah, him and Walker not so much. Johnson got priced up, but he's been really good. And then Walker's still been solid too, and he's at least on DraftKings very cheap still.
Yeah. Anything else, chat? Sounds like a lot. No. Okay. All right. We got one game left on the docket. We'll take a pause for the cause. We're at 3:50. In about 40 minutes, I'll be in the RunDFS.com VIP voice chat, chopping it up until lock, digesting news, talking plays, making lineups, making player pools. If you guys want to be part of that voice chat, go to RunDFS.com. Make yourself an account. Find a VIP pass right for you. There's week pass, 2-week pass, month pass, season pass. Go click that onboarding thread. You'll get links to the NBA spreadsheet. The NFL spreadsheet will probably be up either Thursday or Friday for week 17. And then get into the Discord. And then right here under NBA, you'll see constant jibber jabber about the slate or just having fun. You'll get the alerts from Bot Dacker whenever Labs or any news source drops a bit of information about somebody being in or out. And then we'll be in this voice chat right here for the 2 hours leading up to lock and probably spilling over a little bit. Like we just see Kawhi Leonard, mouth, questionable. We get stuff like that instantly. And
really hoping that would be clarification.
I mean, he might. I will talk about that in just a second. So if you guys want to jump in that, it's lots of fun. Grab a mic, join the conversation, or just listen in. We'd love to have you. We have one game left on the docket. It's the Clippers hosting the Portland Trailblazers. This is a 10 p.m. tip-off time. It's about an hour and a half after the Spurs game goes. Project starting five for the Blazers: Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum, Derrick Jones Jr., Robert Covington, Yusuf Nurkic. Taking on Patrick Beverley, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, maybe, Nick Batum, and Serge Ibaka. 226 is our total, 4.5 point spread in favor of the home team Clippers. So last night, Kawhi Leonard was he wasn't a late scratch, right? It was just, we didn't have an answer until after lock. And that put us on more Paul George, but the Clippers were able to be lopsided in that game anyway. The issue with Kawhi, it's a comfort thing. He's been practicing and what have you. Maybe there was also a little bit of load management in the brain there. So for Kawhi to miss maybe night one of a winnable game, maybe they were trying to save those bullets for tonight against a perceived tougher spot against, Lillard, McCollum, and Nurkic. Perhaps that's the way to think about that. I think his ownership will be kind of low. So like on DraftKings, like maybe I get crazy and put some Lillard in the mix, and then if I know Kawhi's going to play, I could switch Lillard to Kawhi just for some potential single-digit ownership, just because there's a lot of uncertainty around his status. But yeah, so Dame's 10K on DraftKings. I need 50-plus fantasy points there. I feel like in a 1v1, you end up with potentially LeBron in that scenario, AD in that scenario. Obviously, Kyrie and KD are strong, so Lillard might float as a low-owned play at 10K. And even if you're getting into that type of, if you get a comma in your salary with two numbers in front of that comma, you're probably going Luka. So Dame might be a low percentage owned shot in the dark. McCollum has been a thing, and it's annoying. Especially the other night when I was sweating that tournament. McCollum has 50 and 66 fantasy points the last two games. The assists are up there for McCollum right now. The minutes are normal for McCollum. Does he regress a little bit? 22 and 30 shots the last two games. At 8K, if this is the type of McCollum that's possible going forward, I probably still have to take some shots on McCollum. It feels like historically that's not it's not always a positive correlation to play him and Lillard hoping for ceiling, but so far in a short sample size, it's been there. Robert Covington, I was sweating him that night that we hit for the 15K. The minutes for him have been high. You might have given him a few more minutes with Carmelo Anthony not being with the team, but he got 38 minutes against Houston as well. At 4,700, I still think he could be a 34-plus minute player. Maybe you dock a few minutes just for Melo, but that's a lot of minutes for under 5K, right? There's not a high level of confidence behind playing him here. but sometimes minutes equal money. And I think he's more of a FanDuel play for me anyway, just because he's more defensive than offensive. So if he falls into a couple more steals and blocks, you see that night, I think he had 22 on fantasy on DK, 26 on FanDuel, 3 steals and a block. That's 12 fantasy points off the rip. So if you're gonna get a shot at 35 minutes of Rocco, I'd be a buyer in a little bit in the power forward position. Melo's kind of cheap off the bench. Cantor, I think Cantor was
there.
Yeah, I mean I like me some Cantor. 44. Do I play Cantor as a sneaky play? 33, 22. Yeah, Cantor has really been 20 plus fantasy points in the first 3 games. And that's not unlike Cantor, right? He's a run and gun type of player. If Nurkic were to get in foul trouble early on or something, something wild, yeah, I could see myself getting to some Cantor for some deep shot late night hammers. I don't know. What's your initial read on this one, Jake?
I'm going to have to make another decision on CJ McCollum, and I hate it. It was always nice. You should be like, oh, you can't play both, and I'll always play Lillard. But if McCollum's going to take 20-plus shots at 7,900, this is the kind of usage you always say. You just got to kind of consider him, and that's where he's.
So, like, McCollum and Chris Middleton are just, like, kind of, like, I didn't love 7-8K on him with a Giannis in or with a Lillard in. And then they both just kind of been consistent to start the season. And I still got this feeling that Giannis might sit tonight. So, yeah. But maybe if that did happen, everyone's just going to go Middleton no matter what, and McCollum's just non-existent. But, yeah, he's been getting there. And the assists are there, too, right? It's not just fluky 40 real points.
He's grabbing a few boards. He's getting quite, like, his assist totals are, you'd think he's the point guard for that team, and I guess they are trying to stagger him more.
So stagger.
He's been good. He's, like, right now, he's pretty much the same thing as Lillard. He's taking 1 million shots, he's playing 1 million minutes, and he's grabbing a bunch of assists, but you get him at a 2,100 discount on DraftKings.
Mm-hmm. Looking at that game against the Lakers, it doesn't look like there was any time that either McCollum or Lillard were not on the court. So, yeah, looks like he is playing the point guard role behind Lillard. So, makes a lot of sense for his assists to be where they're at. Man, dude, I'm going to play some Lillard. All right, one of these days, Paul George is going to be a good play at 7,600 on FanDuel. It's going to happen. One of these days.
Watch back today, #DFS.
Stuff keeps happening, like blowouts. The wrong side of a blowout against Dallas, right? I guess any side of a blowout is the wrong side for fantasy. But 28 minutes against Minnesota last night, over a fantasy point per minute. Kawhi did not play last night. If Kawhi does play tonight, maybe there's a little less interest by the field. But like Paul George still get 40 plus with Kawhi. It's just, does the game stay competitive? I think it could. So. I'm there on Paul George. I'll have a little bit of Kawhi. The supplementary plays are curious. Serge Ibaka had a strong performance last night for fantasy, especially when you look at the options at center today on FanDuel. He had 36 fantasy points in 21 minutes. That's probably like the best case scenario, right? Stealing at this price point, but it's still a range of outcomes on a short slate where we don't have a ton of options at the center spot. My man's almost doubled in 21 and 19 minutes in 2 games straight. So he's getting it done. I do think this Portland front court is a little stronger with Nurkic and Rocco. But if he gets some overlap against Cantor, I do think it opens up just a little bit. Nick Batum at 48, 4,900. Never a high confidence click, but minutes there, peripherals there for maybe a FanDuel standpoint. And then off the bench, you spin the wheel, make a deal. Lou Williams is getting really cheap. He's 4,600 on FanDuel. We know if he takes 10 to 15 shots and his shot is on, he could pay 4,600 off before long. Same song and dance for Luke Kennard. I really feel like there hasn't been a ton of must-play, click my name price point guys on the whole slate. Right? There's a couple on site-specific, right? KD on DK, you feel like you're not risking much. But it's not like yesterday. I guess Tyler Hero on FanDuel again. But it's not like yesterday where I just felt like positions spoke for themselves. And we saw like Steph Curry's locked in and guys like that. So tonight might be a little bit wonkier for lineup construction. And I also feel like this has been such a weird preview in terms of Vegas spreads, right? Like every spread kind of leaves me the potential interpretation that like somebody could be out or something fishy's going on. Like that Miami Heat spread is really weird to me. Yeah, I don't know, man. How do you with red, yellow, green light confidence level on this slate? Are you gonna go big tonight?
Probably not, just because, I mean, the other thing is there's not a lot of confidence, and there's a lot of news that we're not just guessing. It's like, oh, that Milwaukee spread's weird. Giannis could rest. There's like, we have Tate. We don't know about Kawhi.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron technically carries a tag. Tatum carries a midday ad for a sprained thumb.
Aldridge.
Like, there's a lot we just don't know on this slate.
Yeah, this does feel like it could be set up for a high news slate 30, 40 minutes before lock, and that's what we're here for, right? That's what the crew is there for, to react appropriately. We just got news that Marcus Morris is out, Kawhi Leonard is still questionable, so that's it, right? Chat, what do you guys got on the slate before we get out of here? I got plenty of time, so if you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop them in there. Let me know if you guys are really, really on something that I or Jake skipped over. Paul says Lillard's too much on DraftKings, but narrative is big. This entire slate feels like a trap with a mic. Thoughts on Lou Will and Serge on a back-to-back? Thanks again for a good show. I appreciate that. I think like minutes-wise, it's just them performing. I think last night Serge Ibaka probably hit absolute ceiling for the minutes given. Also probably helped that Kawhi was out. You would assume on a back-to-back if Kawhi was in, maybe Serge Ibaka, you tape your expectations, but he's still showing that he could almost double-double. But I do think against Nurkic, the matchup gets a little bit tougher defensively, right? Narrative Dame versus Patrick Beverley. Yes, the Cancun narrative. That would be fun to watch. Luka. We like Luka. Says Chronic. Way to go out on a ledge there, Chronic. No Tristan Thompson. Thoughts on Daniel Tice? Tice is fine. I think is Tice still a power forward on FanDuel? No, he's a center.
He's power forward on DraftKings at 4K.
I think he's fine. I got him at 26 minutes, which put me at just under a fantasy point per minute. The matchup is fine. You might even be able to stretch those minutes a little bit more. Depending on Tatum news, like if Tatum were to play, I do think there's a Brad Stevens lineup, especially considering how small this Grizzlies lineup is. I think there's a Stevens lineup where Tatum stretches to the 4. I don't even say stretch. He used to play to 4. And then like Jeff T gets in the mix, and we start seeing some more small ball lineups. But if Tatum was out, knowing that Tatum would be out and perhaps Tristan Thompson out, or with Tristan Thompson out, I do think I could stretch Daniel Tice minutes to maybe 30, in which case he probably profiles as an even better play. So I don't mind that. I'll definitely keep my eye on that. Even though LeBron birthday, I think AD is going to eat. Okay, Javad, good to see you. Jumped on late. Pritchard on Boston, flat minute on FanDuel. Sounds like he's got a lot of buzz behind him, Peyton Pritchard. And I'm like, my slot projections put him fine, right? I don't have any slate breakage at 21, but I think he's fine. If he was like exuberantly high owned and ownership projections, I might just try and leverage against that and hope for like a Brad Wanamaker Celtics letdown. But for the most part, just from a math standpoint, he projects just fine. Tyson, Time Lord, I'm with that. Are we overlooking Robert Williams? It's possible. I do think I got him at 18 minutes. I'm sure you could stretch that even more if you wanted to, especially if Tice got into foul trouble against J-Val. And I got him at over 20 fantasy points, so he's over a point per minute. Patty Mills or Dejounte Murray? Fam, that's not a 1v1, bro. Come on, Amir.
That's definitely set up for a 2v2.
Dejounte for sure. Do you like Miles Bridges tonight? He wasn't on my short list. I probably don't see myself. 26 minutes. He is cheap. Am I sleeping on him? He might be on to something. Small forward, 4,500. 4,500. There's a small forward named Tyler Hero that's probably gonna really pop off ownership wise. I guess from a points per dollar standpoint, he's been serviceable, but it wasn't something that I was really on from a short list. But Tyler Hero will likely be your highest owned small forward on FanDuel. Same price as Bridges. Last night dropped 39. No Butler. Fast-paced matchup. So I probably wouldn't ever play Bridges instead of Hero, but I could see playing him with Hero if you're really trying to pinch pennies, right? You're the only one that pronounced my name the right way on first try. Nice. What up, Kiwi Foreman? Hero or Tragic? Hero. Honestly, guys, who knows what's going on with Tragic? He only touched the court in the first quarter yesterday. Is there an unspoken injury that they're protecting? Was it just because of a blowout? Hero seems, I don't want to say score-proof, but he's the young gun. And even if Dragic was healthy, seems like Hero's minutes are safer, like 35 minutes for Hero. Because I think I had Dragic at 28 minutes yesterday, assuming all went well. So for me, it's Hero. Yeah. Is Grayson Allen a lock? Not for me. Tyus Jones would be too high owned in tournaments. I don't feel like I'm getting a great deal on Tyus Jones' price either. We've seen Tyus Jones kind of get there defensively. Wasn't he with like the Timberwolves years back? And he like stole his way to value one night, like literal steals. But at 6K, I need probably 35 to feel like I'm getting a decent deal here. So I don't even know that, like, I don't know. I haven't looked at ownership projections, but I feel like I wouldn't even project him to be exuberantly high owned. Exuberant? Why have I said exuberantly twice now?
Word of the day.
Word of the day. Wanamaker plays for Golden State. I know where I'm saying, like last year and the year before, Brad Wanamaker would be chalk as the backup guard on the Celtics, and he would be 30-40% owned when Kemba was out, and then there was nights where he completely tanked. That's why I mentioned that. Burke is good. Brooks on DK, a good play. I think Brooks, if you're talking about Dylan Brooks and Colin Anderson, without John Morant, makes sense. I think my love for them would really kind of teeter-totter on Jason Tatum's status. I probably lean on Brooks a little bit more for 20-plus real shots. I do like Jonas Valanciunas quite a bit. If you guys missed the early part of the stream, we looked up last year. J-Val without Jaren Jackson Jr. and John Morant averaged 1.5 fantasy point per minute for the Grizzlies. So on a shallow slate at center, if he were to get that 1.5 fantasy point per minute on perhaps a 30-minute, maybe 32-minute night, I mean, that could really pay off. He got 39 minutes against Brooklyn. It's nice to know that he could play that. I'm pretty sure he's not playing 39 minutes today, but if he got 32 minutes on a 1.5 fantasy point per minute production on a shallow center pool, I'd definitely take that, especially if it feels like the field's trying to figure out Tyus Jones, Dylan Brooks, and Colin Anderson. I think it's fair to say that not all three of those guys hit today. Anderson, Brooks, and Tyus. And I also think Tyus is probably my least favorite of the trio there. I think since they got dumped on, they wanted to save Dragic for today. That's possible. I would really like some clarity on that whole situation. Because you don't just pull the plug on a starter after one quarter. So I don't know. So I feel like, there might be something else there. Do you like John Collins versus the Nets? I do think Collins has some foul potential here. I can't just leave a guy for being foul prone, but you look at his first 3 games, 5 fouls in 26 minutes against the Pistons, 4 in 27, 4 in 18. If he's going to cross up with KD, I feel like his foul problems could continue. So I do think he's going to carry some inherent risk there. Maybe those fouls are keeping his minutes low. Maybe he is going to go back to a 32-minute player, even with Capella in the mix. So if he can keep his hands to himself, I can see the Hawks leaning on him a little bit more against the Nets. But the foul issues are not encouraging, especially going against Kevin Durant at times, right? Smash that like. Yeah, man, you guys want to help me out, hit that like button. That would be lit. 285 viewers. Oh, we broke the record, and we have 51 likes. Bro, if you guys got me to 100 likes, I'll get a cat. I will literally get a cat today.
We got to hit the like button.
Get 100 likes right now. First time here, need help. What up, PS4 Guru? Hope you're doing all right. I like J-Val. He would crush Tice. I do like Jonas Valanciunas quite a bit. DJF, Brooks, Allen, and Jonas in one lineup. I think we're asking a lot out of those three from a tournament ceiling standpoint. I do think you can, maybe give them the floor as three guys that are going to have to do the most to keep that game competitive. But those would be the three for me, absolutely. Like, those are the first three names I'd want from Memphis. And maybe Maybe I'd put some insurance on J-Val with like a Brandon Clark in deeper fields, right? 29 minutes out of Brandon Clark against Brooklyn, 30 fantasy points. Here's a guy we've seen be potentially a point per minute in years past. So, yeah. Do you give out a lineup here? No. We just talking plays right now, buddy. Wonder if Capella gets a minutes bump. I think they'll slow burn him. Maybe a couple minutes more each night. 20 minutes against Detroit night one. I don't really see him breaking the 25-minute threshold for a bit, and they'll work his way back up. Do it for the cat. Oh man, yo, people love cats. That put us at 79. If you guys want me to get a cat today, let me know.
One thing, I guess to backtrack a little, that I did just pick up on that both could hurt him or could just show his upside is Dylan Brooks has been a foul machine this year.
Mm.
He's still playing 30-plus minutes, but he's picked up 6 fouls in 2 games and 5 in the other.
Aggressive D. That is a lot of fouls.
Yeah, he's still playing 30 minutes, but like, if he doesn't foul, is he going to play 40? Is that what we're leaning towards here?
I think it's possible. Any interest in Dante DiVincenzo and Nick Batum? So I'm just making this up out of thin air, guys. But in my mind, there's nothing out there that suggests it. In my mind, there's like a chance Giannis and Antetokounmpo don't play. And the only reason I'm thinking this in my head is, one, we've seen Giannis be load managed in the past. 2, they just blew the Heat out of the gym last night. It's a back-to-back. And we have a 6-point spread. The Heat are at least without Jimmy Butler. Potentially an issue with Dragic there. So I just feel like there's a chance that there's something squirrely or fishy going on with Giannis. But that's completely in my head. So please, if you're on it or off of it, like, don't let me influence that there. That's just something that something feels weird about this whole game. So if there's a case for Giannis to not be there, Dante DiVincenzo is under 5K on both sites. And there's certainly a range of outcomes for him to get hot and pay off that price tag, 25 to 35 fantasy points. He got 27 last night. He does feel like he's a little bit more scoring dependent than you would want him to be. A couple steals there to help out for FanDuel. So yeah, I don't mind him. I wouldn't, if you show me a lineup with him, I wouldn't think you're off base. Yeah, 83 likes. No cat today, boys. We don't have 100 likes. No cat today.
Oh, no, hold on. We got some more questions. We're up to 86. We're up to 308 people. There's more viewers rolling in. If anybody's new, if this gets to 100 likes, we're getting got a cat.
Donald says if Gunn doesn't get a cat after 100 likes, we got to ban him. So if I did get 100 likes, I would I'd probably get a cat through the shelter. So like technically it might not happen till tomorrow. I had to do the application process.
We're getting you an animal companion here. That's the important part for both the cat from the shelter and for you.
I just got my PayPal thing from the other night. I was like, look, SPSC, it's a new year. I got 20,000 on me right now. Give me a cat.
100 likes. We're there. Where's the cat?
How? It just said 80. Now we have. Gosh darn it.
104.
Now I need. Gosh darn it. I gotta get a cat. No. Oh no.
Well done, chat. Well done. We're getting a cat.
Oh no. We're getting a cat. If Giannis is out, Drew will be highest on. I still think Drew's a play regardless. Like he was smashing it yesterday at this price point. Well, I guess we're getting a cat. We have to name the cat on Twitter now. What's up, Tyler, the creator? Why don't y'all want this man to get a cat? We got a cat now. Gosh darn it. I guess we'll make it a Twitter experience, guys. We'll get a cat. It's time for a cat dog. What up, Jay? Batum, a good play if Kawhi is out. So Batum, I don't think would be like somebody I'm leaning on confidently, but I do think the minutes and peripherals would be enough to be interested at 48. But I really want 30 fantasy points at that point, and we've seen him do it once. But these last few games were impacted by blowouts, and as long as we did get Marcus Morris out, right? So as long as Marcus Morris is still out, I do think those minutes should be his to lose until further notice. So I'd play Batum, but at this price point, I don't feel like we're getting a whole lot of meat left on the bone, right? I was liking him at 38, but at 48, 5K, it's tougher, right? Can we name him Bayward? I spammed them all devices. People got like multiple Google accounts just to get me a cat. Just borrow a cat. I'm gonna make a fake cat. What up, Pinstripe Pimp? Jack Billions. Jonas Valanciunas is a good play, which I like him a lot, Jack. Like I said, he's averaging 1.5 fantasy point last season without John Morant and Jaren Jackson. Gun, can you name the cat Meowth? Is that one of your Pokemon? Any interest in Jakob Poeltl if LMA is out? From a points per minute standpoint, yeah, I think there's meat on the bone at that price point. Matchup isn't fun, but he is cheap and could get you 30 at 4K. Cat's name should be Cat Dog. Dame versus Trey. Who you got? I want to say Trey as a correlation to all the Kevin Durant and Kyrie that I'm going to own. So I guess I'll lean on that then. Yeah. How we
It's
feeling?
like a 240 total. It feels weird to not have heavy priority in a 240 total.
Yeah. Yeah. You talking about the Hawks game, right?
Yeah, the Hawks game is 240, and just like outside of the obvious plays, it feels like there's not a whole lot that's like jumps out.
Yeah. How we feeling about going right back to Drew? I think Drew's fine, Travis. At that price, I feel like 30 is fine. And then he was on pace to being a smash play, and the Heat have nothing to stop whatever he was doing yesterday. Nothing wrong. Okay, buddy. Chris Middleton's a good play. I think Middleton is like that McCollum play where he's just been so consistent at an uncomfortable price point from what we know him in the last 2 years. But also, I got that little Giannis theory. So I think if we did get that Giannis news, Middleton might float as one of the highest owned plays on the slate. Got to name him Chat the Cat. Maybe I'll have a poll. Name him after a couple of players or something. Rondo's too cheap. LeBron birthday game, boys. What about LaMelo Ball? He's too cheap. In deep field tournaments, yeah. Naming my next animal LeBron. Great idea. What about Middleton? We talked about Middleton. All right, boys and girls. 300 plus, man. We broke another record for concurrent live views. I love you guys. You guys are the best. I do have obligations to be in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord in about 14 minutes. You guys are more than welcome to go to RunDFS.com, get yourself a VIP pass, and come hang out. Tomorrow, another short slate. Actually, I don't even know what tomorrow's main slate will look like. There's 2, 4, 5:30, 6, 6:37, 8. So we might get one of those nights where FanDuel includes the 5:30 game or DraftKings includes the 5:30 game and the rest start at 6. If they keep 6 p.m. as the cutoff, then we might have a 4-game slate. So tomorrow might get really weird. And I would say there's at least a chance there's no stream tomorrow based on this. So we'll see what the slate looks like tomorrow. And stay tuned to Twitter for that. And then on Friday, it's another big slate on Friday. So hopefully you guys crush it tonight. Favorite pay up option? Probably Luka. Hey Gun, nice sit the other night. Appreciate that, Adam. Is it his birthday? It's LeBron's birthday today. On DK, who do you prefer out of the Grizzlies guards? Tyus, Grayson, and Brooks. I think Brooks will have the highest.
1 for 1.
Yeah. Rondo or Patty Mills? That's a.
Is Rondo getting more minutes?
I don't know. I feel like he might be eased back.
He went off in 15, like all the way off in 15 minutes, but I feel like that's not something you can bank on every night.
Yeah, best case scenario, like him and Serge Ibaka. I'd probably go Patty Mills for floor, but like I don't think you're crazy trying Rondo. Try to hit the like button 90 times for 200 likes. Hey, we got 100. I have to get a cat now. I feel like LeBron is done giving us 60-point nights by choice. No, he just got 55 his last game. Like, he was 5 fantasy points away. So I don't think that's, like, fair. Cat stream, right? Scary Terry, solid play night. Terry Rozier's usage rate has been super consistent at about 25%. So I do think if you're on Luka, I love Devontae Graham, Terry Rozier, and Gordon Hayward as run backs, and then PJ Washington getting more time at the 5. And I guess Rondo is kind of cheap. Did you mention Peyton Pritchard? The chat has brought him up 50 times, so it looks like he's going to be the Cinderella sweetheart DFS chalk play of the day for value. And I'm not like overly enticed or anything by it, but like I get it. It's fine, right? Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for me. Twitter.com/GunDeckerSports. You can tweet more questions. I'll try and answer them as I'm getting the spreadsheet set up. I definitely appreciate you guys hanging out with me. It's been a really, really successful stream. I have to get a cat, so thanks for that. Cat updates on the old Twitter, too. I'll post pictures of that, and I'll order all the good stuff. Cat beds, cat food, Bobcat Bulls. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Hope you crush it. Good luck. God bless, and go win some money.